Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today. In today's video, I want to share with you how I maintain my tomato plants. I have a lot of work ahead of me, so let's go ahead and get started. You can see that all of these have gotten overgrown in the past week and a half, and they really start to get out of control this time of year. So I have a large amount of pruning and trimming back to do. It is perfectly safe to do this to indeterminate tomatoes, which are usually those larger varieties. If you trim like cherry tomato, for instance, it stunts its growth and it will only produce a certain amount. But with these larger tomatoes, they can handle the trimmings and still produce a lot of tomatoes. So what I like to do is I look for the axillary of the plant. So you have your stem here, and then you have this leaf that wants to grow off from the stem, and then in the axillary of that is a little offshoot, and we want to trim those off. And what I like to do is just pinch them out or cut them out when they get bigger like this and remove them. I will also go through and thin the leaves so that we have a lot less foliage and a lot more tomatoes. These tomato plants do not need a whole lot of foliage in order to produce these beautiful tomatoes. These leaves, when they are thick like this, produce great hiding spaces and breeding grounds for bugs and bacteria and things like that. So it is nice for me to keep them nice and tidy for those purposes as well. So I'm going to go through and trim up all this stuff here and then show you what it looks like afterwards. In the situation, such as the one that we have here, where we have the main stalk, and then we had this leaf come off, and then we have the pup coming off of the axillary here, and this was the main stem. But to an untrained eye, or to beginners out there, or somebody, sometimes the stalks are both the same size. It's really hard to tell which is the main stalk. I usually just pick out the smaller one, and it's okay when you have to take out larger pieces of the tomato plant. Preferably, it's nice to keep up with them with the trimmings when they're like this smaller and you just kind of pick them out. It can be a little bit more traumatic for the plant when you cut them out when they're this tall. However, tomatoes are one of the most resilient plants I've ever grown, and they can handle it and they'll be just fine. See here? Here's another situation where it's like, which one would I pick here? Because they both look like they're producing tomatoes with little offshoots, and here too are trying to flower and everything. So what I'm going to do is just go for the smaller one, take that out. And I could root this in a cup of water or stick it in some moist soil with some root toner and make a whole nother tomato. But as you can see, I have plenty of tomatoes. But that's another production tool that you could use in your gardening practices. And then I'm going to also go through and add more of these tomato clips here. These tomato clips, as you can see, they open up here. This little area here is where you can put your twine or string, and it grips in that area here. Let's see, I'm doing it one-handed here, hang on. All right, so when you close this, the string is then locked into this little area, and then the stem has freedom of mobility, and there's a lot less trauma that can happen. Whereas a lot of times if you tie your stems with twine or string around the stems, you can strangle your plants and kill them that way. So this way the plant can blow in the wind, and there's a lot less trauma that can happen as it grows and deals with the weather and everything else. So I have this twine that goes down. It's like I think it's like a nylon twine or something. It lasts forever. And it goes down into these little landscape staples here. And I can move this around or add more twine as these plants need it. So it's a very fluid trellis system that can work with these plants as they're growing. And then that way they stay staked up to here, they stay upright, and it seems to be a really good system for me. Tomato cages just wouldn't help my situation one bit. This works really well though. In the end, I'm going to make a mixture of BT and spray with my little pump sprayer here and just kind of coat these tomato plants because I have been noticing some leaf miners. These are leaf miners here. They get in between the layers of the leaf and sort of burrow in and make these little designs on the leaf, and they can also get onto your tomatoes. A little bit of BT helps with that, and then the hornworms are starting to come out. So I just like to spray about once a week, or unless I see a problem. I do it as a preemptive precaution because inevitably the caterpillars will come. If you wait to spray once you start to see caterpillars, then you're dealing with an unmanageable level at that point, and you're going to lose a lot of food. So I just I spray once a week, and I pray, but I spray once a week just to kind of take care of it. A lot of times there'll be eggs on these leaves that you can't see with your naked eye, and if you spray with the BT, you're taking care of them at that stage before they have a chance to nibble on anything. Everybody, I am all done, and my hands are disgusting. All the chlorophyll from trimming and pinching and grabbing all these leaves has now stained my hands, so I've got to scrub that off. Anyways, look at the difference from where we were to where we are. You can see that I went through and meticulously trimmed out what I thought needed to go and decided what needed to stay. And we have a lot more airflow, which is really good for, preventing diseases and bacteria growth and stuff. And the tomatoes can get more sunshine, and when they ripen up, they'll be a deeper, darker color. And they just look nicer, and I can see my tomatoes better. Ooh, look at how pretty all these are. Although these are very deep in color, they are not ripe yet. I am waiting for them to be a little bit soft to touch, and they're still very firm. So we're going to let them continue to ripen up until they get softer. See, I think these should be darker, but they haven't had enough sunlight. They were covered with a lot of leaves, so I think they'll darken up now that they have some more exposure. Look at all these. They look like apples right now. These are cool looking. So I'm going to take this BT, and this is what I use to control my caterpillars and worms on my plants here in my vegetable garden. So I just kind of dump about 2 tablespoons in my 1 gallon pump sprayer. Then I just fill it up with water. Give it a few good pumps until you feel the pressure build. And then I spray my plants. Paying attention to where the wind is blowing so that I don't get this on me. Although this isn't toxic to me, I don't want it on me. I'm gonna just spray all over, making sure I get the underneath side of the leaves, because that's where a lot of times the bugs like to lay their eggs, getting my tomatoes and everything else. So this is an organic measure that you can use to control worms and caterpillars and things like that on your tomato plants. All right, everybody, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a good day.